Hey Zook family, it's Sunday, and that means it's my favorite time of the week. It's Creative Conversations with Ron Nicoli. We didn't get a chance to chat to him last week because we were doing the Resorts World Awana takeover, which I hope you enjoyed. Flying a drone 6,000 feet above sea level to capture the entire resort was a very special moment. But I am glad to be back in Vegas this week. Ron, how have you been over the past fortnight?
Good. Vegas is starting the process of coming back. So it's been a pretty interesting time. It's almost about a week ago now that the some of the casino properties reopened. Actually, pretty much a week in a few hours. Midnight of last week is when a few of the properties chose to reopen. Some it was the next day. Obviously, not necessarily normalcy, so to speak, but feeling that we're moving in the right direction, and I think we're going about it in a very safe way. Going into the spaces right now, a lot of messaging, a lot of touch points in place that make you feel at least that you can go out and interact, still respecting the distancing, but also safe and have some fun. I think we've all been kind of quarantined for a period of time, and I think it's a good outlet to kind of be in front of people again.
Yeah, Resourceful Genti's been doing the same thing. Lots of SOPs in place, safety first, sterilization, social distancing, masks on offer. I think you're right, safety first. Let's get back to normality. 10 weeks is a long time economically and socially to be locked down. But it's great that you're back in the game. It's great to see that you're going to keep moving. Construction on Resorts World still going strong, I hear.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been out on site a few times this week. Having a few months break from being at the actual property and then coming back in, it shows you that one, construction can move pretty quickly, and two, obviously, it's exciting that part of the endeavor and world did not stop. So it's been really great to see that put together and come together. And I've put 20 years in Las Vegas, and I've got to see a lot of great buildings be built. But getting to go through the space the way I have and to be a very close part of it has been really amazing.
That's phenomenal. So this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to invite a industry veteran like yourself from Malaysia to join us. Adam Mathews, someone who has been through it all. He's worked in-house at Zouk Kuala Lumpur, our sister company. He's run his own festivals, and now he has Asia's largest conference, electronic music conference, Wide Music Week. So let's go meet him. Let's go and see and chat about how Vegas and Malaysia have evolved in the last 20 years.
Sounds good.
So in an additional segment this week, I wanted to introduce one of my very close friends and one of Zouk Genting's closest affiliates to the Creative Conversations chat. There's very few people who are better positioned in this country to align with Ron about talking about the background that the industry has been through. Comparisons between Malaysia and Vegas as we look forward to Zouk Vegas coming online. Then Adam Mathews. Adam has been in a marketing role which set up the original Zouk, which many of us would have been to and have memories from, met wives, pre-children even era. Then has brought some of the biggest acts into the country, organized festivals, and now has Asia's biggest music conference. Adam, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Joe. Hi, how are you? You good?
I'm very good. This is Ron. Ron's obviously a man who needs
Hey.
very little introduction right now. But what I want to kick off with, now that we know a bit about your background, Adam, is a flow of conversation to talk about how you have seen the industry in Malaysia change in 20 years. You precede me by a long time. And then also see, Ron, if you see a comparison between how marketing has changed for nightlife in our time, because basically you're both old men, to be honest.
We are. I mean, I am especially. I was just saying to. By the way, say hi to my business partner Carla. We're from Plural HQ right now. Deep in Bangsa, Kuala Lumpur. So yeah, I mean, look, my industry actually started in the UK. I broke my industry cherry when I was living in the UK, in Sheffield and Leeds and London. And things were very, very, very different back then. I mean, I'm talking about 1998. A lot like Ron, we were just talking about it. Like, we come from the days of flyering. I was a flyer boy. That's how I started. Walking the street, flying. I literally wore A boards. With our physical posters in front of it. And those to be honest, those days, I mean, there was a mobile phone, but it was a different demographic of people. Your average person on the street didn't really work with no mobile phones. We had SMS blasts, which was ridiculous. It was I think it was 8 pence a blast. So like you had to be really strategic as to who you were blasting out. So because that was money. That was like a lot of money back then. But yeah, those days were crazy. And then in 2007, I moved back to Malaysia. And we went from working at Gatecrusher in the UK, where basically your revenue came from the door charge. Cover charge was like a massive thing, right? And then I come back to KL, and Zouk KL, it was like bottle service. And it was like bottle entry, like buy one bottle 3 packs, buy one bottle 4 packs. So immediately there's a paradigm shift in terms of like how we in Malaysia or Southeast Asia was wired in terms of clubbing, because the real estate of the table was more important than real estate of the dance floor. So we started seeing more and more tables and less dance floor, right? Which, I mean, look, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because people were partying at the tables. There was nothing wrong with that. In fact, some of my best memories of partying in Velvet back in the day were like, when we were partying around with our friends in tables. So things are very different. I remember when I first came back, 2007, 2008 was the dawn of Facebook marketing. So you can imagine, getting an event invite right now. If you look into your Facebook page and you look at all the event invites, there's like probably like 30 happening in the next few days. And even though there's no physical club, so you've got like 30 events, whether it's live streams or whatever. Back then, getting an event invite on Facebook was like, oh, I was invited for this. I must go for this. So things are really, really changed. What about you, Ron? I mean, like, how's things changed across the 2 decades?
Honestly, like a similar pattern. Truthfully, my first job, my first entry point, very similar. Flyer guy. At that point, it was your compensation was heavily based on the bodies you brought in. So it was the true promoter model, and it was weird because promoter in Vegas at that time held a very negative stigma. It was a position that didn't have a lot of credibility behind it. And during that same transition, all of a sudden bottle service popped off. And again, to the same point, at that point, it was like, 3 people per bottle. And that started like coming alive. And there was a lot of almost customer education that went along with that. And now keep in mind, in my position at that point, it was just about bodies. So even though I could have been offering tables, there wasn't that alignment of compensation. So I'm out on the streets and all I'm caring about is getting those bodies in. And again, you're doing the SMS blast, and you're trying to find all these creative ways to create communication channels with people. And the hard part in Vegas was we used to have these guys that would stand on the street, right? And they're handing out things for escorts. So you've got them handing out these little cards for escorts, and then after about 6 or 7 of them, you've got me passing out the night. So talk about getting kind of lost in the noise of it. But that again, it was the entry point, and it's funny because I feel like a lot of guys coming into it now, they're never going to experience that the way we did.
Hey Ron, I got to tell you guys, the number one spot when I started promoting 15 years ago was Top Shop. We used to loom around Top Shop because
loved it.
Girls would come in, international girls. You're like, do you want to join my table tonight? And you know what? In the UK, this is an interesting comparison I have for you, quite amusingly. There is still a guy who works in a club who has the same hustle, and it's the guy who gets the money for lollipops and spray in the toilet. And I remember, if there's a hustler that still exists in clubs, it's that guy. The guy who says no Armani, no Punani, no Gucci, no Gucci. And I the same, guys. It was like you went out, you hustled, you try to pull together 15, 20 people, then you found sub promoters, and it's actually these guys that killed the industry in the end, because you ended up paying for everyone that came in the club. But funny origins. But
in Malaysia, I various reiterations of my career. I actually was promoting this one club where this club was when I went in, it was beholden to promoter companies. It was basically held at ransom. This club could not exist without those promoters, and it was so much hard work to break stigma of just say that, look, believe in your content, believe in the marketing, people will come, right? But like some club owners were so scared, they were too scared to like basically say, no, I have to have this company, I have to have that agency. And like, when I found out how much certain people were getting, because they weren't just getting people money for the bodies through the door, they were getting money for how many bottles they sold, how many tables they sold, and then how many repeat bottles they sold, and this is when you start seeing like champagne bathtubs full of champagne being sold, because they didn't care. It didn't care about the quality of the customer, right? They just wanted those sales. It was a little bit scary. Hey, one little hack that I have, because I remember what Joe just said. One little hack that I have was in Ibiza. Those are the first people that you tip. You go into the club, you tip the toilet attendant first, right? No matter whether it was space, whether it's Pasha, you walked in, you walk straight to the toilet, €5, €10, because you know what? That queue will disappear. Every time you turn up, they'll be like, come in, like you walk through the whole queue just because it didn't matter. Like you tipped good, so you were their friend. That's amazing.
So let me talk to you next, Adam, about your route. So then you look at nightclubs. You've done this. You helped set up the entire system that exists to this day through Zoocare. It was the first big blast.
Well, it was already an existing club. I wouldn't say I set anything up. I think I was there at a very fortunate period between 2007 and 2011, when the club was shifting. So basically, there was a major renovation that happened in the old Jalan Ampang site. It went from 3 or 4 rooms to like 6 or 7 rooms. And Sher, my boss, the visionary that he is, basically saw that club rooms needed to be cut down in size. So basically, boutique style rooms that had its own identity. So like 7 clubs within one super club, and that was like a completely new model back then, because back then it was just like large rooms. So I was there at a fortunate time when basically there was a paradigm shift. So I wouldn't say set up, but like it was being able to do certain things in those times that hopefully have a lasting effect in what they are doing now.
So look at the flow for both of you. This is an interesting topic. So then, Adam, you saw a niche opportunity to move into the festival area, the big, and Ron will obviously have seen EDC and all these huge things that we see in Vegas. So where did you both see a transition from, hey, I'm going clubbing, I'm popping bottles, to this huge desire to put these big DJs onto stages and run?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think we had discussed this before, it was kind of like 2011, 2012. And, Vegas's model at the time was very different. There was a lot of celebrity hosted events. So all of a sudden, like you're having these celebrity hosted events and these like athlete birthday parties and such. And then you had clubs that were actually not doing anything. Like I remember one of the first venues I was at out here, it was like people would joke around that it was open the door marketing, right? And then all of a sudden, EDM had become super popular in the States. It had transitioned into kind of top 40 radio stations. And there started to be like this kind of culture around it. And then at the same time, all of a sudden, like EDC is coming to Vegas, right? So now there's this, what grew as from a rave perspective to, Coliseum in LA now is coming to Las Vegas. And the thing was that there was so much demand behind it. And at that point, again, at the point when we were paying rates at that point, we thought they were crazy, right? But looking back, if I could get any of those rates from 2011,
tell me about it.
But it happened so quickly. And the thing was there's a few of us in town that jumped on that trend. And it was a very successful trend. And then what had happened was when we gobbled up the bigger pieces, all of a sudden I don't want to say the secondary clubs, but like the guys that were like B-rated clubs, all of a sudden they're trying to get, I don't want to say the scraps, but they were trying to get what was left over. And all of a sudden Vegas now turned into, I don't want to say like it turned into like another Ibiza, but it turned into this thing where every night you had some sort of performance piece and some sort of artist going on. What it did is it helped refine the culture, because I think there was a lot of customers from overseas. Let's be honest, the guy who is cultured to going to venues overseas that are seeing artists perform, he's not excited about this celebrity from the States hosting a party or this football player having a birthday party. That doesn't mean anything to him. But if they can look and say, I saw that DJ in Ibiza last year, and now he's in Vegas. That was the cultural connection. So now they started spending money, and that was real.
Yeah. I mean, for us, the see, we've always had a culture of music festivals in Malaysia, right? It's been up and down because the legality and everything else was like, it's very gray, yeah. But it was always driven by the sponsors, yeah. So whether it was the beer brands or the cigarette brands, or the hard liquor brands, it was always driven by them because they were the only ones that had really that kind of money to throw. Because again, a lot of these events were happening, but these artists were flying in literally just for that event and flying back out. So you can imagine the compound cost of having like 6-7 artists flying in and out for like a single show. Because again, back then, the idea of touring within Southeast Asia for a few shows for an artist was almost non-existent. You might get, KL Singapore back to back or KL Singapore Jakarta back to back, but there was never such a thing as like, India to Bangkok, Bangkok down to KL, KL Singapore, Singapore Jakarta, Manila. You're talking about like 11, 12 days before you end up even in China. Yeah, it was unheard of. But in 2000 and I would say 11, 12. My business partner Lifescape Iqbal was already speaking with the guys from Future Music in the Future Music Festival in Australia, and they were already successfully running multiple massive shows across 3 or 4 cities. So they were putting in massive offers for like 4 shows. So it just made sense financially to put in another offer for Asia. So you do like Sydney, Melbourne, blah 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 blah, Perth, Adelaide, and then Kuala Lumpur to an artist offer. So now if you've got 30 artists touring and you just scale down to like say 10 to 12 of those headliners to come across, right? And just at not a fraction, but it was prorated. So it just made so much more sense. And a lot of the artists literally after finishing Australia would fly back to either America or to Europe. It just made sense to stop off in Asia just before they go back, and catch 1 or 2 more shows. So financially, the birth of that model of festivals was it was fortuitous timing, I would say, just more than anything else. It's fortuitous timing because it was also around the time that big room progressive house was starting to blow up. Your Avicii's, your Hardwells, and all that. They were like mega stars. Now, to be able to see, say, Martin Garrix, I mean, like, I will tell you now that the first year that we had Martin Garrix, it was the year that he was going to be number 1. Hardwell had just become number 1, and then Martin Garrix would go over to become number 1. And the kind of numbers that we were able to offer for those artists compared to what they are charging now, it's like, whoo, So that's why you could see such amazing lineups on Future Music Festival, amongst others. I mean, there were a lot of other really good. I mean, Future Sound of Asia, which is Ben and crew, they were also doing some really, really good artists and shows and all that. So I think it was just timing, and that was the start of it. And then obviously Zookout was doing some really, really good numbers. I mean, Zookout and Jakarta Warehouse Project also had this symbiotic relationship of being able to offer, 2 shows and like, kind of like back-to-back weekends kind of thing, and make it work financially. Because in the end of the day, the money that we are offering, the ringgit Malaysia, is significantly less buying power than say, what you can offer in China or India for those kind of shows. Yeah,
it's interesting you talk about that, and Ron hit a nail on the head at the very beginning of this, that you're looking at a model that used to be celebrity driven. This was the same in the UK. Then we moved into act driven, and even last year, and Adam was a partner we worked on for Zoot Live, we now see experience driven festivals. You look at Tomorrowland, you look at Wonder Fruit in Thailand, you look at Burning Man. It's no longer centralized around who the act is. It's around what kind of takeaway do I get that I can't do at home or in a club. So where do you both see your vision of where the shift came into experiential events? Because this is now what the millennials like experiences.
Instagram, the selfie, literally, it is because of that, right? It's FOMO. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, that's the entire point of experiences. I mean, it's sad. It's really shallow of me to say that that's where some of my customers are. But like, the idea of the experience was like, look, I think Coachella killed it, right? In terms of that experience, right? Yeah, you've got the best artists in the world coming through, but look at how they laid out the site. Look at how EDC laid out the site. It's just on another level, you know. Everything, every corner, everything that you see, everything that you look is just another experience. And it's why, because I want to take a selfie here. I want to take a group selfie here. I want to make sure that everybody knows I'm there. And I think it started with you know, the fact that the celebrities were jumping on the game and saying that, hey, I'm in Coachella. Yeah, I'm in, and you know, clubs by and large, if you look, you guys see it all the time. The minute your headline DJ goes on, what happens? Right? It's immediate. It's immediate. Yeah, it's immediate. There's just no to it. And why?
I'm gonna be honest. I hate it. I
hate it. You know, but it is what it is. You see it, and it's just mental. It's mental, like, and they're not taking it for a memory. You know, back then when we were first clubbing, if we had a video camera, we were taking it just to say, oh my god, I saw, you know, this DJ play this song and it's my memory, right? Right now it's just there and immediately it's right.
But you know, I went to Sonar with my fiance last year. We've been 2 years in a row.
One of my favorite festivals in the world.
Yeah, techno festival. Not one person had a phone in there. Not one person had a phone.
Yeah.
Maybe because no one could see straight, but no.
You know, the one of my favorite festivals in the world is called Lovebox in London. It's just amazing that, you know, they in certain of the arenas, especially the Red Bull Music Academy arena, you know, and stuff like that, people are actually dancing with each other. You don't see them dancing with the guy on the stage, you know. They are literally dancing with each other. They're just singing the songs to each other. I miss that, you know. And but I think this is something that I think Joe, we kind of have achieved it a little bit with the Mayhem Jams that we've been doing, right? The Mayhem Jams, basically Mayhem Jam is a concept that I have been running for a few years, but like it's a dancer community party event, right? And we've been doing it in clubs. We've done it in Zouk Genting. We've done it at Zouk Live. We did it. We've done it in rooftops, in car parks, everything. So, and it's just basically it's the most raw exchange between the DJ and the dancer, right? And it's not about for the dancers, people who just love to dance. And we have managed to kind of like shift that focus off the DJ, and they're kind of dancing with each other. And I think that's something that hopefully, if you ask me, where is everything going? I think that especially with this current situation right now, I think people will eventually appreciate being in that club more. You know, this whole focus on like trying to pour bottles down your neck for like 3 seconds and 5 seconds. Hopefully, you know, like they'll just like take a step back and just go, yo, I appreciate being here and dancing and that music and this and that. I mean, it's utopian.
It's funny you say that, and because one of the things we've done here in Zouk Genting is we try to send experiences home. So we've made DIY cocktails that come with a QR code. You scan, you get a video. DIY beef tacos from Fuhu. You've been helping us with DIY dance lessons on Zouk Digital. Ronn's been giving us mixes from Vegas. It's like the whole interactivity is really important. This takes me to my last point of the discussion before a bit of banter is, you were one of the first, especially not just here, and you know, I know you'll be humble about it, but in Asia, to look at the movement with the TEDx's that were happening in America, and you spearheaded a movement towards the conference route. So you have Wired Music Conference. Please tell us a bit more about it. But it's Asia's biggest music conference, correct?
Electronic music conference. I mean, there are a lot of music conferences out there. From an electronic music conference point of view, I think we are one of the largest, definitely for Southeast Asia. But I think largest is not the KPI that I really want to. I would say more, it's like we are the most connected. We're bringing the industry together. So it's not just DJs and producers, but it's also professionals from the industry. and also electronic music lovers. That's basically our thing. So started about 3 years ago. The original founder John Bear and me and Carla, teamed up this year to kind of like create a much bigger entity. So Wired Music Week, which is basically the physical conference, which will be happening. We'll announce it here. Which will be happening in Zouk Genting again in March 2021. That's something that we are definitely already moving towards. It was supposed to happen in 2020, but obviously because of the global situation, we had to postpone it. But I think probably for the better, because right now what we're going to do for 2021 is just so much more exciting and so much more significant in impact. It has various platforms or pillars. One is Wired Music, which is more to do with like the more commercial sounding side of the electronic music scene, radio-friendly electronic pop. And then there's Wired Black, which is for the concentrating on the underground side of the industry, which is kind of blowing up in Vegas right now, isn't it? Like, the Black Coffees and the Carl Coxes, and it's just massive now. And even with like your old friend David Guetta going back to doing his Jack Black sound, and like, look, that's the full circle of the industry. So, and then we've got Rewired, which is basically the intersection between electronic music and e-gaming, which is going to be the next big thing, including with the VR platforms for events, which is something that John Langan is very, very passionate about, according to you, right? Then we've also got different platforms. So the platform that we're currently working on right now is called Get Wired. Get Wired is basically a virtual electronic music conference. Because we can't have physical conferences, we are running the conference. We're running the conference regularly every 2 months, 2 to 3 months, as a virtual platform. So imagine watching a music conference, electronic music conference, and on a wired on a virtual platform. So Joe was in our test event, which actually went down really, really well. And we're about to do another one middle of July, or across 2 days, and it's going to have all our platforms represented. But the key thing about a conference is 2 points. One, it's basically about the conversation. It's really, really important. It's transfer of knowledge. It's being able to understand the industry more, sharing with each other. And then the second part, which is integral to a physical conference, that we think that's the most important thing that for what we are doing with the physical one, is the networking. Dude, you can email an agent easily now, with just say, hey, I want to book this artist and all that. But the inherent value of having a face-to-face, whether it's having a coffee or a beer, or just say, hey, I'm this guy, I emailed you, I want you to know more about what we're doing, and then this agent understands, or this artist manager understands, is you can't buy that. You can't buy that. There's nothing wrong with like emailing and sending one sheets and everything else, but just the fact that you're interacting with this person, that means that it's just another side. Maybe this is just me, and I think Ron and Joe, the three of us are a little bit old school. That face-to-face value is so important, isn't it? Yeah. But I think that the conference actually lends itself very importantly in terms of networking. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, guys, I'm going to throw some fun topics at you. I want you both to answer. So I'm going to, judging from your experience background, and we'll go Adam and then we'll go Ron. Okay.
Sure.
Your career to date favorite DJ booking that you've made?
Masters at Work, UK 2002, if I'm not wrong. And so it was one of the first times that Louis and Kenny played together in the north of England for a long, long time, and it was just a really special thing because for two reasons. One is basically we screwed up the rider. So if you don't know Masters at Work, Lil Louis Vega is really, really little compared to Kenny Dope Gonzalez, who's like really, really tall. And we mixed up their and because Louis has to have a different setup in terms, because he's smaller, he has a different setup in terms of his thing, and we mixed them up. So basically, Kenny, who's like 6'4", was like slouching over his decks, and Louis had to play the turn. But it was also one of the best sets I've heard those guys play, and it's probably still one of my favorite DJ acts.
Ron?
I would say it's one of the first big bookings I did was with Jesse Waits. We booked Dead Mouse, and we booked it on Friday night after hours on a phone call, and it was the first time we had ever booked anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were told that we couldn't announce anything, and me and him automatically ran and told the entire staff. So within like an hour, like everyone in Vegas knew we had the show booked. And I remember the agent, who was Joel Zimmerman at the time, like calling Jesse and being like super pissed that we couldn't keep a secret until Monday. But again, it was amazing because again, we went into it and we didn't know if we were going to get it done. And I think Jesse had kind of just applied so much pressure to Joel that he took the booking. And it was so exciting that we didn't know how to shut our mouths, and it blew up. But the show was amazing when it happened. So,
did you have a good experience working with Joel?
I did. Yeah, I did.
I mean, that's really weird. I've had great experiences working with him. We've booked him twice so far, and like both times has been. I mean, yes, there is some baggage that comes along with like putting on a big ass show like that, but honestly, he's been great. I mean, and it's weird because like you hear so many stories, and it's crazy.
A lot of artistic integrity with him. Like truthfully,
sure.
Like he really cares about the fan experience in the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, we've touched on so many topics. What was both of yours first ever Instagram post?
Yeah, sure. My first Instagram post was odd. I think I was taking photos of glasses on tables. I don't know. I got into it, and I know it was like a series of things I was doing, and I think it literally. And we're talking like a water glass on a table, and then I just repetitively took photos of water glasses on tables. And it wasn't that I wasn't taking the platform serious, but I was using it more for discovery. So I don't think I was taking myself serious on the platform.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Joe probably knew why he's asking me this, so I'm just going to reveal it. My Instagram, which has 773 followers, and I'm doing it as a social experiment, has 0 posts. I've never posted anything ever in my life, and I've no story, no post, nothing. It's just been a little bit of an experiment to see whether I could get to 1,000 with zero posts or zero presents.
I'm just about to unfollow you now. So moving on, you both get 3, alive or dead, judging on the whole wide concept. Your dream panelists.
Oh wow, alive or dead. That would be that. I mean, mine would all be dead, but purely because I would put Stevie Wonder, Prince, and Daft Punk on the same panel, right? And that would literally tell me about the history of the impact of black music, or music of black origin, onto electronic music today. I can't think of like 3 people who would basically be able to like go through the entire thing.
That's a great call, Ron.
Thank you.
Wow, it's crazy. I'd probably throw John Lennon on there. I just think that when we look at what the Beatles did and honestly the footprint that he left, so I would definitely have one there. When I look at from the States perspective, someone like Elvis Presley, just because of the showmanship, and then honestly Frank Sinatra, just because I would say his connection to Vegas and the generational, like even DJs would come to Vegas, and for some reason, a lot of the ones from Europe would always bring up Frank Sinatra in conversations. They'd want to know where that photo was taken with him in the Rat Pack, and it became very conversational. So you saw that he had left a footprint on them.
Absolutely.
So again, all 3 dead.
Just a quick one. I read so Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers, he's got a biography out called Scar Tissue, and his dad was part of that scene, and like Anthony Kiedis' like baptism by fire into that scene was literally sitting in the Viper Lounge at his dad's table watching the Rat Pack come in and out, and basically during that time. And can you just imagine the stories that went through tables like that those days? Yeah, amazing.
Gotta ask this. You're both flyer boys. What was your go-to flyer line as people were walking by you? You had to hustle. What was it?
Oh wow. That's a really really tough one. Um, I would pretend I know them. That was the thing. Like basically because we saw so many people throughout the thing, so like there would be like commonality features and all that. And I would pretend to know them and say, "Hey, what's up?" And they'd be like, because you're in a student town, like they kind of like, "Oh, did I meet you? Went to the party together?" That kind of thing. So yeah, that would be it. Really, it's more of a hack. Really, there was no like cheesy pickup line that I had from back in those days. Not that I think of, anyway.
Right?
I would always take this super weirdly passive approach because again, it was all about like girls there was a higher price on bringing a girl in as far as
Oh wow.
So like if you like a girl had a higher per head, so you're targeting groups of girls. And I remember I would walk in and my first line would be, "I'm not hitting on you," and it was for some reason like my safety measure to them.
Yeah.
And it sometimes caught their attention. Again, you're standing out in the street where the other guys are handing out escort flyers and I have the club flyer, but that would be my go-to move. Or if it was obviously engaging with a group of guys, it was just like really kind of going right into it and then trying to sell them on that, hey, there's going to be a lot of girls there. But yeah, the groups of girls were like the big one. We used to really target the girl groups, and my safety word walking in is, "I'm not hitting on you," and sometimes that would be successful.
Hey, dude, I'll let you in a secret. My one in Top Shot was I would pretend to be on the phone and I would pretend to have an argument with a male friend. I would like, "Dude, I can't sort the guest. It's impossible. It's full." And you would be in the shot. And then I hang up and you just wait for the eye contact and you'd be like, "Sorry, I'm being loud. We're running a night tonight. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah." And then you would hook the bid from there. So it was like you excluded immediately, made it an impossibility. And then when you gifted the guest list places, they were like, "Oh, thanks so much." And that was
wow.
it. My last question to both of you, 2021, everywhere hopefully reopens. Who is your acts to look out for 2021?
Honestly, right now, I think that the old masters are going to come back. Purely because from a house music perspective, because it's so cyclical, that sounds come back really, really big. So I'll give you an example. I'm hugely influenced by the French DJs. People like Laurent Garnier and even Bob Sinclair. Bob Sinclair, to me, has saved lockdown. Lockdown without Bob Sinclair and his 1 hour daily things would have been a mess. He said, and I think that whole French touch sound is going to come back in a really big way, and it started actually because if you listen to Lady Gaga's new album, the entire production team, they are all Brodinsky, Chami, Boys Noise, yeah. They're all the French guys, and the French touch sound is going to come back. So I don't know about 2021 because we're still 6 months away, but I think certainly in the second half of the year, you're going to hear a lot more music with a very French filter house sound. A-Track just did a really, really cool French touch mix on his YouTube, and anybody go listen to that. That's just mind-blowing. Yeah.
Zouk Singapore booked Justice last year and it sold out in ridiculously fast time.
No doubt. I mean, like one of the greatest electronic music acts, bar none. Just unreal. Yeah.
Ron?
I got to be honest. Like in Vegas, there was a real movement for like deep house, and I feel that it's like continuing to grow. I think people are starting to in the States get more culture to the music. So I mean, some of the guys that have been on this progression the last couple of years, I think 2021 is going to be the year that it really hits a popular experience, like a mass popular experience. So again, the Black Coffees, the Fishers, I think that those are going to be guys that are going to continue to kind of pop off. And then we're seeing guys like Millennium, that again, style of music, but that's really starting to pop off in the States. And then again, I feel like there's something behind, like, I would even say like a David Guetta that, I feel like he's kind of hitting that circle again. And truthfully, there's been a lot of popular things about Deadmau5 right now. And I feel that he's kind of kept such a low key in the States that if Joel comes back and does something throughout the end of this year, I think 21 is going to be a huge year for him.
I think he's just spent all this time writing amazing new music, and developing a new show. I mean, Eric Prydz, I can't even imagine what Hollow 6.0 is going to look like. I can't even imagine. It's just that last one was already like crazy. Can you imagine what the next one is? And he's been quiet, exactly like Joe, just totally quiet. I really love what David's done with his new sound. By the way, I think some of his best music so far is incredible. It's so good. Yeah.
Well, Adam, look, it's been a huge pleasure to chat to you. Good to get a
Thank you.
perspective from over the years. We can't
Yeah.
wait for what Ron needs to book his flight in March to come back to Malaysia.
Yeah.
And we hope to chat to you soon, especially a bit closer to that time.
Yeah, and honestly, I just want to. I know I mentioned this in our chat earlier, but like, guys, thank you so much for keeping this conversation going. I think I've been following it since the first one when Ron was first interviewed, and I've followed every single one. As an I'll even go. I'll stretch out and say, like, as an industry veteran, every time I listen to these conversations, I learn something new, and I think that's really important. And I think that what you guys are doing in terms of like educating a new generation and even an old generation like myself, it's great. And I think you guys should carry on doing this and actually delve deeper into all these conversations, because you guys are nailing it in the head. I'm really excited to see what you guys have got coming up next.
Thanks,
Thank
Adam.
you. That means a lot.
Cool.
A lot to know that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys.
Speak soon.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody. Be safe.
Take care.
Yeah.
Great to chat to Adam just now. He did raise a very interesting point about educating not just the old school, bringing them up to scratch on what marketing is today, which you've helped us with, Ron, but you've been starting this component of guiding the new school. And Alex, our head of marketing at Zugenting, always has questions for you. Hits you regularly, and last week we did the first, and now we have the second. So I'm going to pass over to Alex and let him chat to you.
Hey Ron, hi, Alex here from Zugenting. Just wanted to check with you because we were talking so much about how we've evolved marketing from sort of traditional marketing into a sort of digital marketing now, where everything is online. And being online, you have to be careful about what you say sometimes, and you don't want to offend anyone, but also you want to give information very accurately. So my thoughts, I want to ask your thoughts actually on how formal or informal should online interaction be when we're communicating with guests or anyone who needs information from us.
I think it depends. What I always like to say, the space itself, when we look at the venue's identity is built up in so many ways. And part of that identity is going to be the way that we position the marketing, what that creative looks like. It's also going to be how the messaging is. How are we putting messaging out there, and how are we refining that messaging? Again, most of the time, the messaging has to appeal to the masses. And then it's also on how we program, right? Depending on the style of music and activities and events that we're putting together, that again, subconsciously is going to create our customers' kind of identity, or the way our customer is going to view us. I would say this, it's fun because I think that your web identity, I think it can go either way, but it's establishing something like a web identity now is similar to what you would see from an ad composition for brand guidelines. There's certain brands in the States that are very playful with their social interactions, and they'll take a very playful
Wendy's,
approach.
Right?
Wendy's is a prime example. Very playful with the way they interact and the way they even almost interact with their competition in a fun way. And, the thing is I think that when you're going into it, and now the disadvantage is a lot of brands were pre-established, and then the digital age got put on top of them, and they took a more serious approach to it, and they didn't really have that opportunity to kind of pivot and change. What I would say to anyone that's growing a brand from scratch right now is make that brand emulate who you are as a person or a collection of the team. How do you bring your team together to be that message? Now, the other thing I always say is, we have these platforms, and these platforms grow, right? And they grow to a position of having great influence, right? And I think with that influence, it's about refining it in a positive way. Like I've always looked at nightlife, day life, and the experiences that we put together, and it's an escape, right? Like I don't want to bring someone in to a real venue, a virtual venue, or a virtual conversation, and have them weighing about something that is negative or something that's bringing stress or drama or any type of kind of components of the life. We need to be the escape. So a positive message is always there. You want to have something positive. You want to set the tone, because again, your messaging could be the first customer communication. It's the first point of interaction, right? Because again, the seamlessness of it is the tone of your message, the visible creativity or creative, tying into that in-venue experience. You're again, I look at it's all a story. And if chapter one is however you're narrating yourself through a digital platform, that's setting the tone for the experience. And again, we're going to target different groups different ways. Like if I'm doing a fun masquerade party, Halloween party, the tone of that message is going to speak to the component of that. It's going to be very playful. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be on that safe side, but it's going to feel like very fun, right? It's going to feel very exciting. Now, if we're targeting, let's say, a group, that's very different also. The unfair advantage that we have once the group communication dials down to more peer-to-peer, someone reaches out on Facebook and have a direct question, you can sometimes create your answer to fit the personality of that person. You can read into what they're saying. You can play off of them in a positive way. So that's the kind of thing is it's almost you're casting this very wide net. And then when you get down to that position of finding that the fish that you're going for, so to speak, you now can communicate more directly with that person. And I always say it's good. It's always good to create that personal touch, because at the end of the day, at a certain point, like I remember, everyone used to say, "Oh, that's Ronn from here." You start wearing that as part of your identity. It's probably similar to yourself. Like now, people will sub-identify you with Zook. And you know what? For guys like you and me that are very passionate about this business, very passionate about where you're at, it's a positive thing. I used to always love it when someone would put that identifier with me.
Right, great. Yeah, that's actually very good insight. Thank you so much, Ron.
Perfect. Thank you, Ann.
Ron, thank you so much again for your time this week. It was great to get you to link with Adam. It was also great for you to answer Alex's question. We've got the old school, we got the new school, bring it together. I'm hoping that in the coming weeks, you're going to introduce us to some of your friends out in Vegas so we can get an insight into further experiences from people in nightlife.
It was great. Thank you again. It was awesome it was really awesome, obviously, getting to kind of meet Adam and talk to Adam, and obviously have very similar parallels. So, and again, it's nostalgic, even though we just met, like hearing his journey, and obviously my mind visually picks up and remembers some of the memories of my journey. So definitely a very nostalgic conversation. It was awesome to get to talk with Adam and yourself tonight. So really amazing.
Hey, Ron, I can't wait to speak to you next week, my friend. You take care. We look forward to your Tuesday night DJ interview. We love it. Who have you got coming up in the coming month?
So we got a few great artists that we're looking at. We got Zen Freeman out of LA, really, really amazing guy. He's done a few residencies in Las Vegas, does a lot of the hottest parties in LA, a lot of the Oscars, and really just an amazing guy to begin with. Really got to really develop a friendship over the years with him. Got a DJ out of San Francisco we're going to be talking to. We got a gentleman, Arnold, out of Singapore, who's looking at curating a pretty amazing live set for us, which he's looking to do in Bali. So a lot of different variety. It's kind of went back to the drawing board and tried to get a whole new series of guys together so we can kind of continue this curation we're doing. So lining everything up right now, but feel that we've got a great month of programming coming up for the Tuesdays.
Hey, Ron, we can't wait. You look after yourself, stay safe with your family, and we'll speak to you next week.
Sounds great, Joe. Thank you again, as always, and stay safe.
Take care, my friend.